Lions just recovered a fumble.
Bits of wisdom.
It's Harry Houdini, I'm pretty sure.
That's when it kind of becomes Home Improvement After Dark.
I guess that leaves us at the question of the week.
Very good. I don't know if you noticed, Jordan, but a really cool aerial shot of the table. Reasonably funny.
User review.
Does everybody know what time it is?
Home and podcast time.
That's right. Binford Tools is proud to present a Home Improvement Podcast. My name is Adam, and you all know my co-host, Jordan, the man with the Playing Lions.
Oh, baby. That's me. Boy, I feel like I'm
you.
having deja vu a little bit here, but I'm excited to
It's almost
get into
as
another
if we've already done this, and then crisis hit, and then something was accidentally deleted, and we're doing it again.
It feels like that, but maybe it's not. Who knows? But episode 58 is on deck.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to our listeners because we're just going to deliver them fresh content, and they don't know, what we've already said, and they don't know that we already know the jokes that the other person's going to make. And so let's get into it. Jordan, how are you?
I'm good, man. It's weird to be recording on our Friday. It feels like the last 3 episodes or so we've been recording on like a Tuesday or Wednesday at random times, and
right.
Back into the groove.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, but not actually been
not in practice
thus far. But
did you have a good last weekend?
Jordan, I had a really good last weekend. I went to a flea market in nearby Wheaton. Shout out to Wheaton. Any listeners, tweet at me. No.
Is there a bird tweeting at you behind you? That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, it's our sponsor.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. No. And there was a special flea market they do, a couple times a year in Wheaton, and it runs from 3 p.m. to 3 a.m., which I originally thought it was 24 hours, but it's actually not. It just stops really, really late. And at this flea market, there were some pseudo kind of celebrity types. So I sent you a picture of Will and Holly from Land of the Lost.
Oh, man.
And, a show that we used to kind of hold near and dear that we watched. We binge watched
for one summer
day on Sci-Fi, one July 4th weekend.
Speak for yourself. I watched that every day since then.
You still do, yeah. I forgot. You're writing Netflix letters to get it on streaming.
I'm trying to go on routine expeditions every day.
Yeah, well, just watch out for the greatest earthquake ever known. No, they were there. I didn't get a picture or anything with them because to get a photo taken with them, you had to pay for an autograph, which was $40.
Whoa.
And, Jordan, that's pretty steep. We make a lot of money from this podcast, but we don't make that much.
No, once we start charging for our autograph, though, it sounds like we'll be good.
Yeah. Who I did get a picture with Butch Patrick from the Munsters, which I think I cited on an early episode as being a show that I used to watch in the mornings before school. So I was kind of excited for that. But he was nice. Got a nice picture. Bought some low-level merch so that I could get the picture, but it was cool, but it's also kind of maybe a little bit of a sad state of affairs just in terms of these people were kind of in what I would describe as a crappy sort of barn almost, but Jordan, it's a living, and they seemed happy to be there, so that's all that matters.
I guess the real question is, would you rather travel around the country, sit at tables, and take pictures with people for a living, or would you rather get a normal job?
If you saw this barn, you might say normal job.
Maybe not all the barns are so crappy.
It's possible, yeah. It was sort of just like the Land of the Lost thing was actually probably the saddest because they had a fake slee stack, which is, I mean, everybody knows this, but I'll still say it. It's the monsters from Land of the Lost.
It wasn't just a slee stack. Let's be honest. That was Enoch.
Oh, okay, that was Enoch, the slee stack. But they had a guy dressed up like that, and he fake attacked them at one point, and they were putting on this kind of show in this booth space, but nobody was watching. So they were just kind of, I don't know what they were doing. It was just kind of who is this for? There was three children walking by that had no idea who these
they thought aliens were invading
60-year-old people were, but it's
Did they win? Did they beat the slee stack?
Yeah, you know what, Jordan, in the end they ended up beating the slee stack, so good for them, I suppose. It's about the small victories.
Yeah, Marshall was taken down by a slee stack, so they had to get him back.
Marshall has nice teeth, I can say that much.
I thought, were we talking about Will or Marshall?
Oh, shoot. Will, sorry. Marshall is 6 feet under. Will has nice teeth. Wesley, you're
we always found that it was a little strange because I think we, after watching that show, and it amazed us, we went onto Wikipedia and we found out that he was supposed to be some sort of like teen heartthrob.
Yeah.
And, I guess it didn't pan out, but he came out with some music and stuff.
Now he's just a flea market heartthrob. Him and I, we both are.
Kind of like you and me.
That's right.
Well, that's a fantastic. That's more fun than I had in my last weekend. That's for sure.
Jordan, was the story better the first time or the second time?
I don't even know what you're talking about. That's the first time I've ever heard it.
All right, cool.
I'm kind of sad we didn't mention Taylor Swift though.
Yeah, that's lost. That's gone forever. We can bring it up at the end if we want. But what are we covering this week, pal?
Episode 58 is going to be Dollars and Cents. This is co-written by Bob Bettinson, who did Crazy for You, that Halloween episode we loved, and Bruce Ferber, who did Be True to Your Tool, which was last episode. So a couple of Season 3 new writers collaborating on this one. This episode aired November 17th, 1993, getting close to my birthday in 93. You've got a pretty decent pun for the title, but let's come up with our own titles. How many do you have?
Well, Jordan, this will surprise you, but I have 4.
Oh, you have 4. How do you feel about your titles?
Jordan, I don't feel that good about them, to be honest. But I'm here, and I'm gonna give them to you regardless.
All
I know
right.
I often make this joke, but this is yet another episode that it's hard to believe it took 2 people to write. But that's all right. We'll get into it.
Yeah, well, maybe it makes it worse when you write with 2 people. There's just 2 minds, and they're battling.
Too many good ideas being thrown around in this writer's room.
Yeah,
They're like, we got to have a memorabilia store, but we also got to have a skyscraper. I don't know. Let's put them together. All right, first title. All right, the title of the episode is Dollars and Cents. My first one is Stocks and Bonding.
And that's very similar to one I came up with, so I'm going to throw it out there for you. Stock cars and bonds.
Yours is better. Second one, Ground Rule Struggle.
Oh, that is my favorite of yours so far. And perhaps I think I can remember or think ahead. I think I'm going to like it the best out of all 4 that you have. So my next one is Supermen, Men of Steel.
It's a good one, Jordan. I tried to do a steel bit, but I couldn't. Third one, Adolescence, Investment. Good clean read there.
I was going to say, there's no joke in that. There's nothing. It's just 2 words that describe the episode.
They kind of sound alike a little bit if you say them really fast. Adolescence, Investment.
But if you say them
really,
too
though.
fast, you'll probably fumble over your words, right?
You can't really understand it if you say it too fast. So.
All right, here's my last one. Remote control regrets.
Pretty good. The Honus on You. I think that's my best one.
I like that one a lot. All right.
I'll admit that this week yours are better than mine, and that might be the first time I've ever said that.
It's
the first time I've ever believed it.
Well, did you believe it before you've said it?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, so Bernie's got a plot synopsis for us, so I'm going to go ahead and read that. Jill's mother gives the 3 boys bonds to either reinvest or to spend. The boys decide to buy a valuable remote control car. Tim and Jill tell them they cannot play with it, but of course the boys decide to drive it around. And boy, do they. They drive it all around the subdivision.
Driving this car around really has me questioning the geographic landscape of their yard. Did you think about that?
Yeah, you're wondering...
Yeah, where's the back? Where's the front?
Oh, boy.
Where's the back? Where's the front? All right, we'll talk about it later. We open with Heidi, and she wants to know if everybody knows what time it is, but she's very unsure of herself, so it's kind of like...
She wants to know what time it is.
What time it is? What does everyone know? What time is it? So she needs to get more confidence. We cut to the crowd, and we have a bunch of dudes in hard hats. And amongst those dudes in hard hats, one of them is the logo, and he's got kind of swole arms, and he's sitting on somebody's lap, and he's having a good time.
Yeah, I think I talked a few episodes back about how he was kind of squabbling over his contract. So it seems like he got his new contract. He is now upgraded. He's made of like steel beams that reflects the opening scene here, and he's got his little hard hat. He's twirling around his fingers, so he's in good mood.
Yeah, and he looks, like I say, he looks buff. I think he's been doing kickboxing.
I don't think he's ever had arms before, has he? I've seen hands. Remember when he was playing defense?
Yeah, when he picked off that pass and took it back to the house. It was dope. All right. It's High Steel Week on Tool Time. And Jordan, when you talk about High Steel on Tool Time, you gotta have some help. And in to help this week are those boys from Bay City. They're back for what must be 8th, 9th, 10th time, and this time it's personal.
Personal because they continue to lose members from the original group.
I know that. You know, we knew Rock was gone. They brought in a new guy, a black fella, last week, and they dropped him very quickly, which I would say is hashtag problematic. But they are who they are, I suppose.
You know what else they dropped?
Yeah,
Dwayne dropped his mustache.
I didn't notice that, but it is interesting. So they're there, and what are they there for, really? Are they there to sing? No. Is Dwayne there to cut his fingernails? Are they there to do anything funny? Well, no, not particularly. They're going to walk across steel beams, and Pete starts us off by doing the 1 foot in front of the other approach to crossing the steel beam. And Jordan, I can't really think of another way that there would be to do that.
Not any other good ways. Perhaps you could moonwalk backwards or straddle the steel and scoot your way across. But Pete's got the right idea here.
Straddle the steel, and Jordan. So yeah, they Pete does that, and he's complimented on his kind of footwork, and then. They make a joke about Dwayne being 6 inches shorter after having fallen off, and after what I just said about straddling the steel, I will not make the observation that I thought. But I didn't understand the joke. 6 inches shorter, I just didn't really know what it was in reference towards. I don't know if he fell and hit his head and now he's smaller. It doesn't really matter, but it's an odd joke like many of the jokes in this episode. Al has to cross the beam because Tim goads him into doing it. Klaus plays the circus music. Tim has apparently rigged the beam so that it is like kind of, how would you say? It
starts bending towards the middle. Bending. It's like it's not made out of steel. It's made out of something else. Yeah,
and it's just because Al is so fat, I guess. I mean, Al is like... Tim making fat jokes about Al is kind of absurd because Al, at most, weighs like 20 pounds more than Tim. He's not fat by like any kind of metric, but
Tim makes fat jokes about everybody, making me wonder if he has some like body issues, self-body issues.
I can't wait to see that episode. The scene ends with the beam bending, and it's just very strange. And
it's a really apt cold open for what we're going to see the rest of the episode.
Yeah, unfunny jokes, unnecessary cameos, thinly veiled jokes. It's just what's to come.
It's what you want in episode 58. So we'll move on to the next scene. We're going to be outside the Taylor home. The boys are playing football. Mark is going to get kind of the Charlie Brown treatment here. So Randy hikes the football to Brad and then places the ball down for Mark to kick, and he just quickly pulls it out, and Mark falls on his rumpus.
He takes a massive spill, but he's not mad about it at all. He just like gets up and kind of like takes it in stride, which is the funniest part about it because he really falls hard, and he just like gets up and is cool 10 seconds later.
He respects Brad for his smart jokes there. So.
Yeah, he should. I mean, everybody should respect Brad. What happens next? Tim comes home, and Tim tries to make the boys care that the hot rod is coming back.
Hey, they do care. They're excited.
Yeah, I don't know why. The hot rod comes and goes so often. I mean, it'd be more accurate if one of them was just like, Dad, we're really tired of hearing about this hot rod. Just let me know when it's finally done, and then I guess this is him letting him know it's finally done, but still, I'm tired of hearing about it.
Just wait, it's going to be back later, so...
Brad wants to drive the hot rod, but Tim says no. Jill comes home, and she comes home in a huff, and she's upset for what I would say is an absurd reason. And maybe you might have to explain. You might have to explain the logistics of this to me because I don't know as much about finances as you. And I
am the resident financial expert here.
Yeah. So Jill's mom has bonds for the boys that are. And feel free to jump in. They are about to expire or something?
They're about to come due, so you're going to get a disbursement of funds, and what are you going to do with it? Do you want to reinvest it to make hopefully more money in different bonds?
Yeah.
I think when we were younger, I remember having like a certificate of deposit or something, but very small interest rates, safe investments. And she's like, well... or Jill's mom says, I'm just going to reinvest them, but Jill did not want to do that. She wanted to see if the boys... She thought this was a good teaching moment for these young kids. What do you want? Like instant gratification or like investments?
It's so stupid, because Jill's mom is right. And Jill's mom is so obviously right that even Tim agrees with her by thinking that she should just reinvest and not give the boys any say, whereas Jill's like, no, the boys should have a say. But she wants them to choose something like investing in college or invest. Like she's not like she doesn't expect them to want to like she should just assume that they're going to want to buy like gummy worms or something that kids really like. But she thinks that they're going to want to put it in like some low risk, high yield like account or something. And it's just really stupid.
They're investing in the S&P 500. That's what she's hoping.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
Yeah,
she thinks that they're going to want to buy just invest in like some kind of a very responsible mutual fund. But I don't know why.
Brad has never struck me as that type of a person.
Brad's never struck me at period. And I just want to get that out there.
We'll see. There's still time. So yeah, it kind of sets you up for what is only disaster going to be coming later in this episode. Like you said, Tim agrees with her mom, and Jill says, no, we're going to do it my way. That's basically how this scene ends. We're going to do it my way. So,
and here's the thing. We're not talking about like some massive sum of money. Like I thought like, oh, it's like $500, $1,000 or something. It's 50 bucks a kid.
$50,
so,
yeah.
Who cares?
Something that's really going to grow exponentially over time, even if you put it in a mutual fund. All right, so later at home, the boys are arguing over baseball. They have like a booklet.
This is terrible. This is like such awful acting by these children.
They're kind of yelling at each other, but also at the camera. Like it seems like at times they look at the camera and they're arguing over this baseball trading card magazine that tells you the values of the cards.
Well, you can tell that some like 60-year-old dude was just like, all right, say these 4 names over and over again, because like, I mean, Mark has no familiarity with a Yogi Berra or Brooks Robinson, so they're just obviously like saying names that someone has been feeding them like on a cue card or whatever. But they're arguing over like they want to invest in a baseball card, which is not a good investment. I have a lot of my father's baseball cards, and they're nice to have, and I cherish them. But you're
not doing it for the money.
Well, I'll talk about this after this scene. But they're arguing over baseball cards, and they say like, what do they say? They say Brooks. The funniest one was Brooks Robinson, because there's like Sandy Koufax, great pitcher. Brooks Robinson is like a Hall of Famer, but there's no real value in like having a Brooks Robinson card.
Hey, you would know, names?
Man. Yogi Berra. Who else?
They talk about Jonas Wagner, who initially that card cost a penny.
Honus, not Jonas.
Honus. Why did I say Jonas? Jonas Jerebko, former Piston, but Honus, and that was originally a penny, and I don't know what did he pitch like way a long time ago. So a penny is about right.
And now it's like the earliest base, and they are right about that. That is like notoriously like the most valuable baseball card, because it's like the first baseball card from like 1901. But
exactly.
That's kind of the exception to the rule. There's also like this Mickey Mantle rookie card that is worth quite a bit as well. But like those are like 2 cards out of every baseball card ever made that you would make a substantial amount of money on.
I want you to think about this. We know that Brad is a very, very smart math student. We saw Jennifer Zdarsky have to teach him math, and he says if they invest their $150, they could end up with $6 billion. So, yeah. I mean, you can't argue with hard numbers like that.
You can't, no. Jill she's kind of skeptical because she doesn't know how they're going to share a baseball card. And
do you remember the Bloody Nutty Buddy bar accident?
No, and I just soon forget it. They're going to put all their money together and buy one card, and it's just like when the episode is built around this as like the main kind of conflict, you're just in trouble.
This would have been a decent side conflict based on what we've seen in the past.
Exactly. Like if you do this last week or whenever the boys, I think it was last week when the boys were like buying groceries or whatever. Like this is more interesting than that, but this is not enough to hold an episode together.
Yep. So I will say this is the scene. Randy gets like 5 or 6 one-liners in this scene and a couple of scenes later. So they're obviously like assuming he's the only one who can deliver these one-liners and kind of setting him up for that going forward.
Yeah, they're good.
They're really good. All right, so if you're interested in baseball cards, where should you go?
You got to go to a memorabilia shop.
Yeah, and that's where we're going to head for the next scene. So Tim and the boys head there. I remember Davison having one of these. Did you ever go there?
I've been to a lot of places like this. Where was it in Davison?
I want to say it was pretty close to Hank Graff's and Madden's, actually.
Oh, yeah, I do. It's where, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's behind
M15.
It's behind where Archie's was.
Yeah.
In that little strip mall. I did go there. Boy, that was a long time ago. That would have been when we were like 5 or 6. Yeah, I love places like this. I feel like I've spent a lot of time in them. This one was funny because, well, first they said Jill mentioned that she was in a mall later on, but like This is,
It does not look like a mall at all.
Yeah, it's what is it, like one of those malls where there's like a door on the a door that closes and shuts and it has blinds and windows, but whatever. Yeah, so they're in there and they're walking around and I don't know, but it's Tim
They're
doesn't
looking
know
at
baseball.
stuff. Yeah, Tim doesn't know anything basically.
Yeah,
and he talks to the store owner, and he says, we don't want to get ripped off." And the store owner kind of takes offense to this, saying that he doesn't or he rips off everybody or something. The
store owner is kind of excessively aggressive for no real reason. Like instead of just kind of like, I don't know, letting it go or making one joke about it, like he kind of does seem to take it personally. He makes like several jokes about it over the next couple of minutes, and
he's got some dry sarcasm to him. I kind of like that.
I didn't. The store owner is David Wool. 82 credits to his name. Most recently appeared in Madam Secretary over the last couple of years. I love that show, yeah. Israeli ambassador Lior Dori, just an iconic role, obviously. He's also been in films Saving Private Ryan, Hot Shots Part 2, Sophie's Choice, and Terms of Endearment. Jordan, he did the voice of Principal Warts in Hey Arnold.
Wow.
A show of our youth.
Yeah, I wasn't a big Hey Arnold fan, to be honest.
Move it, football head.
Hey.
All right. So yeah, they're in this shop. I don't like David Wool's probably a fine actor, but this performance, probably just the episode as a whole, is just kind of grating. So it's hard for me to say whether it's good or bad. But they're looking at sports cards, and eventually someone spots an Indy car that is like a remote control car, but that is autographed by an actual race car driver. Mm-hmm. Is that your understanding of it?
Yeah, and it's doubled in value since he's had it. So
yeah, but we find out later everything this guy has double in value since he's had it. Everybody's kind of excited by it. The car is $140. They have $150. Tim kind of pushes them in the direction of buying it, but he doesn't really push them as hard as maybe he seems to think later on. They seem pretty willing. They agree to buy it, and
but I think the main thing is that Jill wanted them to have separate investments. So perhaps he is mad because he made them pool all their money together. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of later on. Because you're right, he is pretty hard on himself.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's move on.
All right, so
it's just dumb. It's so stupid.
Well, here's a great scene. You're gonna love this scene. So at home,
my notes are so short from here on out. Like, I think I started watching this episode in earnest, and I was taking thorough notes. But the rest of the scenes, I took like one sentence notes per scene. So you may be doing the heavy lifting here, but let's just see.
All right. So at home, the car is on the mantle, it's on the mantle. It's got a case. The boys are kind of sitting there staring at it. Mark says he wants to play with it, and all the boys really do want to play with it, but they know that they can't, and that doesn't really stop them for too long because they take it outside. They are fighting over the remote. The car takes off and somehow either goes through the fence or there's an opening in the fence. I don't really know. It ends out into the street. You hear a garbage truck, and you just hear the crunch of the car.
It's the worst sound effect I've ever heard. Maybe that guy on IMDb that was complaining about the sound effects in the soundtrack last week was onto something, because this sounded like someone cracking their neck as opposed to like anything being smashed. It's so bad. It
was the little race car driver in the race car broke his neck.
I don't know what it was. Just like it was. Oh man, the whole thing is just very much like it has a community theater kind of feel. Because, like, these kids they're fine actors, but they can't probably do all the heavy lifting this episode's asking them to do. So the car just zooms out and their faces are just, like, so animated. But, I was wondering about the yard. Do you think that it went out, like, the backyard? Because they said there was an alley. But, isn't the front yard where the boys come through when they're, like, cutting through that wood area? Or what do you think?
Oh, like in... I don't know what you mean by that question. Like, in comparison to where the driveway is?
Yeah, where even is the driveway? Where does the car go when it goes out? Like, is that the backyard? It's going through the back and there's an alley? Or where's...
Yeah, because the front of the house has the front door, and you would assume the driveway comes off of there.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like a lot of the houses that are around here where they do have they have a front, but there's no driveway, and then there is a back alley that goes between all of the back sides of the houses where the garage is.
Okay.
Because we see the garage off to the left. You know what I mean?
I suppose you're right. And they do cut through the front sometimes when they're like coming home from school or whatever, like the little wooded area.
Either like the fence does not go all the way around that yard.
Yeah.
Or they had it open for some reason.
Okay, yeah, that's what I wondered. You would assume the fence would go all the way around the yard.
I've seen a lot of fences in my life, and I know you have a friend who is in the fence business.
Yeah, I have a friend that is he's into big fence.
Invisible fences, from last I heard. But I mean, most fences go around a whole yard.
That's my understanding of fences, is that you have them around your full yard so that you can keep out intruders and give yourself some privacy. I think a fence that has holes throughout is... Well, Jordan, is it really even a fence?
I don't know. What would you call it?
I don't know, but I say we got to keep going.
Right, so...
Next scene, we're inside, and this is one of the scenes where I only have a couple of notes. So, the boys decide they need to fix the car. I thought the car would be in a lot worse shape than it actually is.
If it got ran over by a garbage truck, I'm pretty sure they would not be able to do what they're about to do.
I know. Really, I think they just stick a piece of gum in it, and it kind of fix it up. And,
some gum and paper clips, that's all you need.
That's all you need. It must have been one of those really, really small, kind of delicate dump trucks. But whatever. They put it back.
A Tonka truck?
Yeah, it was another toy. It was hit by another remote control car in the alley. That's why the sound effect was so strange, because it was just something I'm unfamiliar with. Jill comes home, and for whatever reason, she's kind of immediately wants to check. I guess she didn't know they bought the car, so she picks it up off the mantle and she kind of inspects it, and Tim is there as well, and they discover that it's broken about 10 seconds after it was broken. So that's that. Anything to add?
Hey, I mean, you said you didn't take very many notes, but that was it. I didn't have any more than you did on that. So, you know what? Let's get away from the Taylor house. There's a little bit too much going on there.
Let's go to those big buildings in Bay City, those skyscrapers.
So we've got Tool Time on location here. We are at a rather tall skyscraper in Bay City. Just got the steel beams at this point, so it's not quite built yet. And I'm not sure what they're building, to be honest. It kind of has like a rounded top, almost like an aircraft hangar. It's very strange. I can't tell what kind of a building it's supposed to be.
I think it was an aircraft hangar, Jordan. Nail in the head. Binford, nail in the head.
All right, so Tim opens the show, and they come up to maybe 4 or 5 stories up, where they are hanging up on the high steel. Al says that he's been cooped up in the studio too long, so he's happy to be out there too. Seems like everyone is unafraid of heights here, and they're all kind of walking around in the steel. They have their girders on. They're talking about the talk, as it always does when you're up this high, turns into like, how would you urinate, you know?
Yeah, I ask myself that really, like, anywhere,
constantly.
Anytime I'm in any place, like, how am I going to pee here? Like,
well, Dwayne does it by just going off of the side of the building. Disgusting. But everyone else just takes the elevator down to the porta potty.
And I mean, if you went off the side of the building, you're putting yourself in jeopardy of a lawsuit or some kind of a sexual harassment kind of scenario. But
pretty sure you would be fired. But so Tim goes to the edge to look at the porta potty, which is below, and hooks himself up to some sort of thing here, some rope, I guess, that would keep you from falling. And we see what's going to happen here pretty quickly. I can't really tell if this is an accident or Tim jumps off, but he falls off the side of the building and ends up through the top of the porta potty.
I think it's supposed to be an accident.
Okay, because it looked almost on purpose to me. It looks like he just willingly jumped.
Well, I mean, I think he did jump. I think that it wasn't a real convincing bit of physical acting, but I think it is supposed to be an accident. So, he falls off this building and he falls through a porta potty.
He's all right, though.
Says he's fine. What does he ask for when he falls?
I think a magazine. You know, if he's going to be down here a while, you might as well give him a magazine.
Yep, and then
more crisp jokes for this episode.
Oh yeah, that's that one, and that's that's kind of the showcase for this episode. You know, you come for the laughs and you leave for the physical gags. And Tim falling into that porta john really.
That's where we all end up.
Where I itched.
That's where we all end up at the episode.
We are all that porta john as we watch this episode.
All right, so after that brief foray away from the Taylor home, we're going to go right back, and we're going to be outside. Wilson is outside making some homemade shoe polish.
He's making some of those
Apparently, I'm high on shoe polish fumes right now, so I'm going to let him explain what he's doing.
Yeah, and listeners, really pay attention to this clip because it's just very memorable and well done. So listen intently, please.
Hi, Wilson.
Hi-ho, Tim.
Whatever you're cooking sure smells good.
Why, thank you, neighbor. I'd offer you some, but this is my homemade shoe polish. So, how was your day?
Oh, same old, same old. Went to work, made fun of Al, crashed through a porta potty.
Sounds full.
Oh, that wasn't it. Supposed to teach the boys something about investment. Went to buy some one-of-a-kind baseball cards. I let them buy a remote control car instead.
So Jack was sent out to sell the cow, and instead he returns with a handful of magic beans.
What? Beans? Jack, what are you talking about? You've been sniffing the fumes in that shoe polish too long. What do you think? I don't know. I went to that store with the kids. When I saw that car, I just turned into a big kid. I wanted it myself.
Well, Tim, I've always believed the spirit of the child lives on in the man. However, in your case, I think the spirit has completely taken over.
I've always been a toy freak. I loved them when I was a kid. Even when I couldn't afford cool ones, I made my own toys.
Tim Taylor toys. They must have been the talk of the neighborhood.
Oh, yeah. Especially when they caught fire and exploded.
It must have been difficult not being able to afford the things you love so much.
I had no toys for Tim. It was tragic.
But nowadays, when you see something that you wanted when you were a boy, you get pretty excited.
Yeah, I guess I do get pretty excited. And that excitement probably just rubbed off on the boys when we walked into that store.
Well, Tim, it's not uncommon. We all try to grasp the pieces of our youth that never were. You didn't have toys. My mother wouldn't let me talk to my neighbors. Tim? Tim?
All right, so I hope everyone was listening very intently on that. There was some real wisdom bestowed there. Wilson,
some real Easter eggs too. I mean, did you hear it when they when like Nick Fury showed up and they talked about like the Marvel initiative,
Avengers? Yeah, it's always the
Avengers initiative, the Marvel initiative. I love comic books.
Oh my gosh! No wonder you didn't get my Superman joke. All right, so I'm thinking that Wilson should have opened an Etsy shop or like gone to a farmer's market. I know that you guys have a lot of trouble with farmer's market around there.
Tons of trouble, Jordan.
Yeah, but Wilson seems like this is something you could sell there. But Tim gathered some wood, tells him about the day in the car. We get a great little Jack and the Beanstalk comparison here, just really drawing parallels between Tim's story and that story. Tim's always been a toy freak.
Tim says to Wilson, he's like, he says, what are you talking about? And that's kind of how I felt, because what Wilson says doesn't make any sense.
Hey, you couldn't afford the things that he loved when he was younger, but now he can. So he's trying to push it on his kids, and he's not holding back.
This is really them trying to force a fence scene, because Wilson has nothing to say because Tim didn't really make a mistake here. So there's really like no point in even having this clip, this scene or this clip.
Really, what happens is we learn a little bit more about Wilson and Wilson as a young child, because he couldn't talk to his neighbors when he was younger.
That's why he loves to do it now. But do you know what I'm saying? Like, they're really shoehorning this in. Like, it's not Tim's fault what happened. So, like, the idea of, like, Tim being a toy freak or Tim wanting to buy things because he couldn't when he was young just doesn't... It's like... I mean, that might be a problem, but it's not a problem in this episode, I don't think.
Not really, because like you said earlier, they were really excited about buying this anyways.
And let's not forget, we're talking about $150 spent here.
That's true. And
it's easy to forget that.
Like, the whole point is that Jill agreed that they can make an investment on this stupid crap. And so they do, and then it doesn't work out. I don't know. Why is that Tim's fault?
That's what I'm asking myself right now.
All right, so inside, Tim and Jill are there. Tim apologizes. He's been thinking. He's got a kid inside her. Or him.
What do you think this is, Home Improvement After Dark? Jeez.
Oh, man. Anyways, they are pretty nice to each other and quickly blame this on the boys. Again, not really the boys' fault, although I guess them driving it around. But what do you expect? They're kids. What are they going to do with the toy?
Jordan, kids will be kids.
Kids
right?
will be kids. So the boys come home, and they do that thing where they don't really want to discipline their kids, but they do want to prank them.
No, Jill does that thing. Jill's obsessed with, like, getting one over on her adolescent children. And this, I mean, it's just like,
what
really,
did the boys do to her?
It's like a psychological thing almost. It's like she has to, like, prank them better than like anyone else. Like, it's like her thing. It's how she gets. Well, it's not how she gets off, but it's how she I don't know, feels superior. Feels
We
like
shouldn't
she's
be talking about
parenting
getting off
effectively.
right now, Adam. This is not Home Improvement After Dark.
Sorry, my bad. I mean, after what you said about putting babies inside, I thought anything goes.
Perhaps the
one.
boys pulled some superior prank on her when they were younger, and she just can't let it go.
All right, fair enough.
right.
So let's describe this prank in considerable brevity, if possible.
Oh, I was hoping like word by word, letter by letter detail.
Sure, I mean, I'll do it. So not in that kind of detail, but so they're getting along, and the boys come home, and Jill is acting like she's got the guy that owns the memorabilia store on the phone, and she says, he's got someone on the line that will spend $200 for your Indy card. Do you guys want to sell? And they're like, no, we don't want to sell. We like it. And then she raises to $300, and they say no, or maybe one of them says yes at this point.
No, not yet.
When it gets all the way up to $750, which is that's a big ROI. That's a big
my goodness.
return on investment. And eventually, is it Randy that says
No,
yes?
Mark is like, yeah, I'm interested.
Mark's like, yeah, let's do this dance.
And
but,
the boys, we should say, they're not interested in selling because they know they've broken the car.
Well, yeah.
And Randy says it has sentimental value, so he wants to hold on to it.
Yeah, and then instead of really doing the whole gotcha thing, Jill just hangs up the phone. Tim and Jill kind of walk away, and the boys just are fighting amongst themselves in the living room off camera.
A really good joke.
Yep. And then we go back for one final.
Yeah,
we
didn't
stinger
spend
scene.
enough time at that memorabilia shop, so we should do that again.
Yeah, you go ahead and take this one, Big Dog.
This is the worst scene in the episode.
Oh, I don't know.
I think it is.
I mean, okay, all right.
I think it
is. I think it's a. How many scenes are in this episode? Because it's
like
whatever that
7.
number is. It's a tie. All those scenes are equally the worst scenes.
Septuple tie.
Yeah.
All right, so Jill is now in the store by herself. She's going to buy them baseball cards for Christmas, I think, something like that.
I think she feels bad just about the whole situation, so she's trying to give them a gift because of what happened.
Well, it's almost Christmas too, so I think she says Christmas. But anyways, she asks about a couple things in the store, including the what is the? It's not a waffle iron. It makes something else.
Oh,
the Swedish. I forget.
I don't know.
Some sort of breakfast thing.
It's an iron.
By Bjorn
It's referenced earlier. Yeah, but the thing about this iron is, if it is what they say it is, it wouldn't just be sitting out amongst the Beanie Babies and whatnot. It would be, encased in some way. But I suppose if I'm talking about that in the midst of everything that's wrong with this episode, I'm making a mistake.
Yeah, well, and just like everything else in the store, it has doubled since he's owned it. So
yeah, that's his joke. He keeps just saying, "Well, it's doubled since I got it. It's doubled since I got it." We keep hearing that. We heard him say it earlier, and
so she goes to buy this pan because Tim really likes this breakfast food or whatever you're gonna make in it. So she's gonna ruin the pan by making food in it, and she takes that and some other cards, and she tries to haggle with the store owner here. It's not very funny. She ends up getting everything for $10 though, so I guess she's good at haggling. So that's the end of the scene. That is why it's the worst scene right there, because of that description.
Roll credits, fade to black.
There's an outtake. There's an outtake.
Oh yeah, there's an outtake of Tim falling.
Slow motion Tim falling. I guess this is probably a stunt double here. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. He had a little bit different build than Tim.
A little bit thinner, I think.
A little bit more of a thin man. Roll credits, fade to black, dollars and cents. I'll start. Bad. I would say that this. I don't know if I've felt this way in a while when watching an episode. As we got to the scene where did I really turn on this episode? At some point I wrote this episode. Okay. When they were on location and Tim fell in the porta-john, I had one of those kind of feelings where it's and I haven't had this in a long time, but it's sort of why do I do this? Why do we have this podcast? Why do we watch this show? It was sort of just really looking inward, and I haven't done that since probably
season 2, some point.
Beginning of season 2, where it's really just kind of thinking about how I'm spending my time or my free time. So yeah, this episode really did a number on me. It's terribly unfunny. The conflict is nonsensical. It is created entirely because Jill wants her kids to have freedom to spend money the way they want, which goes against Jill's character and every other kind of thing we've ever seen Jill do. She's never shown an inclination to like want her kids to be able, like, we just watched them. I mean, I guess she let them buy groceries last week, but like this isn't anything a parent would do, you know?
And even that, well, the whole grocery thing at the time, we were like, this is a dumb idea, and it didn't seem in character at that moment. So the last couple episodes, I'm really wondering what they're trying to do to Jill.
It's just like why would a parent would never do this? You wouldn't take, give your kids money for bonds and then say like, how do you want to invest it? Do you want to put it in a college fund, or do you want to, I don't know, like, it doesn't make any sense. And then of course they want to spend it on something stupid because they're kids. And then just like all the stuff with the comedy, if you can call it that, at the memorabilia shop with that guy, and the banter is just really bizarre and not funny. The K&B boys being back, I mean, I like those guys, but if I see them one more time, I'm gonna just like scream. I think it's just they're not even trying to use them in any kind of effective way. Tim falling wasn't funny. I hated this episode. I really hated it. Highs. Is there a high? I would say, man, I'm hard pressed to come up with. Did I even laugh once? I can't think of a high right now.
All right. Well, it's not a real compelling episode. I echo a lot of things you said here, but I guess I like the idea of an episode focused a little bit more on like some sort of parenting skills. I just think it was like we said earlier, it probably shouldn't have been the main focus of this episode. It would have been a very decent side plot. But instead, like, you find them spending way too many times on stupid things, or having pretty poor insight from Wilson or whatever. And also another thing that we called for too was like taking them off of the normal sets, and they do that twice in this episode, but it's just, I
mean, I did. I guess maybe that's a high, but it's just hard because
it wasn't used well.
Yeah,
it was just,
I hated the scenes where they were away.
So, like, once again, they take Tim on tool time offset, and all he does is, like, fall through a house or fall through a porta-john. It's the same thing that he's done before. It's not anything actually cool. And then in the memorabilia shop, they spend there twice, and it's just kind of, I don't know. It's not too compelling for any reason. Wilson's insight is pretty straight on. I think it's kind of almost a fact that sometimes, how things are when you grow up kind of affects what you do when you get older. You think of like the people who grew up during the Depression and how they end up being very frugal, or I know personally some people who didn't have a lot growing up, and so they spend a little bit more on things that they couldn't get when they were younger now. But I just don't think it actually applies to what happened to Tim here, because we talked about,
I agree.
We talked about it's not really his fault. He disagreed with Jill to start with, and he didn't really like force the kids into buying this thing anyways. I guess he endorsed it a little bit, but I don't know. It's not a real compelling episode. Hard to watch twice.
It was so hard. It was so hard to watch
maybe the high for me is when they pull the ball out and make Mark fall on his butt.
All right, you're right. Yeah, that was funny. But really, the humor in that just came from his lack of a response to it. Just like that it happened so much that it's just kind of like, well, all right, it's just kind of part of my life, I suppose.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
but
not one of our favorites Home Improvement episodes. But
this is one of my. At the end of the season, when we do our bottom three, I'd be very surprised if this wasn't amongst those three. I mean, this is one of my bottom three, I think, of all time.
Whew. Well,
I'm serious. Jordan, I'm so serious.
You're so serial right now. All right. Well, the good news is that we don't have to talk about it anymore. We can move on.
Let's, please.
All right. So let's move on to Sean's social media corner. All right.
Sean's social media corner. Hey, well done.
Thanks. If you want to reach out to us, please do so, and you can do so in a variety of ways, including our website's thehomandpodcast.com, where you can find a couple of contact links. If you want to be social, you can go to facebook.com/homeandpodcast and reach out to us there. At Twitter, we're at homeandpodcast. And if you'd like to support the show, we've gotten a couple of recent donations, which are amazing, and we really appreciate you people, including Brandon Thornburg had a nice donation. He's up on the Wall of Fame. And, if you want to be like these amazing folks, end up on the Wall of Fame, or get access to episodes like the Jungle to Jungle recap that we did, or maybe some stickers, enter I mean, maybe we'll put a t-shirt up there. Who knows? I mean, the possibilities are endless. But if you want to support us, you can go out to our website and there's a sponsor tab, or you can go to patreon.com/homeandpodcast. Also, you can support the show for free by just going to iTunes and submitting a review. That helps people find us. So those are the variety of ways that you can reach out to us. Adam, tell me about Twitter.
Let's talk Twitter, Jordan. Poll this week, 17 votes. Do you like your boss? 18% said it varies. 35% said no. 47% said yes, which that's nice. I'm maybe a little surprised by that. Other than that, probably anything else we talk about on Twitter is more pertaining to the mailbag. So, Jordan, can we rip open that mailbag real quick?
Yeah, let's do it.
You've got mail.
Jordan, what has to be probably our biggest faux pas to date. Several people reached out about our lack of understanding on that fennel joke. If you recall, Mark said fennel is what clothes are made out of. Like I said, we heard from upwards of like 6 people, but let's talk about what we got from Megan at smburgess8. Megan says, I don't know if anyone has pointed it out, but the fennel comment was a flannel joke. You trying to figure it out was funnier than the actual joke.
So you're welcome, everyone.
Yeah, so I mean, that was always our plan. Clearly, we got it. We understood it right away, but we wanted to kind of see if we wanted to put the onus on the audience, as it were, and see if they got it. No, I don't understand how we didn't get that looking back. But I mean, in earnest, I just never considered that at all.
Things were moving so fast, I just couldn't figure it out. I don't know.
At Keyshawn Mom 9 said, "Don't feel ashamed. Mark doesn't speak very clearly." So I mean, let's blame it on that mush mouth of Mark. So.
Yeah, it's definitely Mark's fault, not ours. So, thanks to everybody.
We'll try to do better.
Thanks for everybody for pointing that out to us. We love knowing that we're idiots. So that's good.
Yeah, it's always nice to have someone tell you that you're wrong. No, just kidding. We'll take any interaction we can get. And like Jordan said, donate the show, rate us on iTunes, stay in touch, and we'll do the same.
All right. All right. Time for the question of the week, which it is my turn. It's hard to imagine it being any worse than your grocery question last week, but
I got a lot of good feedback on that. Frankly.
Perhaps we should just go for the low-hanging fruit.
I got a lot of snail mail on that. People wrote me actual letters saying how good it was. So.
All right. Well, since you went for low-hanging fruit, I'm going to go for high-hanging fruit, and that's going to be: are you afraid of heights? They spent a lot of time on the steel in this episode. Well, maybe not a lot of time, but they spent some time on the steel. But no one seems afraid of the heights, so I'm just wondering if you've ever been afraid of heights.
This is going to be a short one. No, I'm not, and I never have been.
Oh, all right.
How are you?
I remember being very afraid of heights when I was younger. For whatever reason, I just wouldn't. I remember when I was much younger, there was on the playground this really tall. I'm sure it wasn't actually that tall, but when you're 4, everything seems giant to you. There was this rocket thing that you would climb up into, and I could never.
Are you talking about at Central?
No, it was actually at the preschool that I went to.
Oh, okay, all right. I know it
was probably very similar though. It's probably the same thing. So I could never go to the top. I was too afraid of the heights, but that has since kind of left me. Even I think of recently when we went to Costa Rica, we did zip lining on the side of this mountain, basically, very high up there, and they had also a Tarzan swing where you it was almost like platform or base jumping, and you just kind of swung on this thing back and forth, and didn't really scare me at all. So I don't know why it's changed.
You've overcome your fears.
I've overcome, and it's because I faced them. So I guess the old adage is true.
You have to face your fears head on. Yeah. No, I'll try to give a little bit more. I enjoyed climbing trees a lot as a young man. Still do. In fact, no, I'm just kidding.
You're always up in the tree. Really, St. Charles, you're just constantly in the trees everywhere.
Yeah, I just go recreationally climb trees. No, I liked climbing trees when I was young. Had a lot of trees in our yard. I think in terms of I think of heights as I went to the Sears Tower and Hancock Tower as a young fella, and that didn't really bother me at all. I mean, I wouldn't want to be walking out on a steel beam like they do in this episode. I mean, I wouldn't voluntarily do that, but I don't, in general, I'm not afraid of the heights that I kind of interact with or the experiences that I have in my life. But I wouldn't want to, that famous picture where the people are sitting out on that beam eating lunch or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I'm not interested in that stuff.
I wouldn't want to do that, but in general, no, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about heights. So
spend a lot of time thinking about heights.
I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it. I spend a lot of time thinking about.
That's because you're
lots of
so
other things.
tall. You're just used to being up there.
That's true. Yeah. How's the weather up there?
Yeah, you've never gotten that.
No.
All right. So that is the question of the week. So I guess we can move on to the
Jordan,
next.
I think actually the grocery one was quite a bit better than that. So maybe take back what you said about my grocery question.
I'm just trying to think of something analogous to it, and
Sure.
that's what I came up with. So
All right. What are we covering next week?
next week we're going to be covering a frozen moment, and I discussed this with you yesterday, the day before. I thought it might be interesting to, now that we've gotten to the point where I feel like we don't really know what's going to happen in these episodes because we never really watched them that much.
Yep.
Maybe we could guess what's going to happen in the next episode.
All right. So I've never seen this episode, so I'm guessing a frozen moment. Okay, I'm going to predict that. It's hard because I didn't. Did you prepare something?
I just thought about it because I saw the
Okay.
title ahead of time.
Okay, you go first, and I'm thinking.
All right, a frozen moment. We're getting pretty close to Christmas here, so it could be a Christmas episode. But I'm thinking maybe Mark finds something. I don't know, some sort of like enticing thing that he thinks is candy or something that's frozen outside, and he tries to lick it, and his tongue gets stuck.
Man,
A la the Christmas Story.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Somebody's tongue gets stuck to a flagpole. Okay, I'll take it a different direction. Tim takes the three boys out to I don't know, somewhere in the suburbs, and it's winter and it's snow, and they're just like walking around, kind of hiking in a trail. And one of them uncovers one of the original frozen cavemen, and
And Tim really feels a kinship.
And then Tim takes him back to the house, and it's like he's frozen in a block, and then there's some kind of he's in the garage working, and he's working with power tools, and he's trying to unthaw the caveman, and there's an electric spark, and the caveman comes to life, and he becomes the third co-host, the third host on Tool Time.
Wow. Well, if that's not an episode, it should
I hope
be.
it is. I don't know. It sounds kind of like Encino Man the more I think about it. But
Well, if you have seen the episode, please don't spoil it for us. We don't want to hear about what actually happens.
I really need that I need that campaign to show up after this stinker. But.
Yeah. So that's what we're looking forward to next week for episode 59. Thank you everybody for joining us. Adam, take us out.
Thank you for listening, Jordan. Thank you for joining me, and I guess I should say take care.
Take care, everybody.